Are we lowering the medical standards to keep the hospitals running?
The country uproar continues over the reduction of the NEET PG cutoff. The 0 percentile category has now been lowered to -40.
Is this a healthcare compulsion or dilution of merit? And how does this affect hospitals, the system, and most importantly, the patients? A zero cutoff is not a policy choice. It is a clear statement about priorities. And this is what exactly is happening with our NEET PG cutoffs that have been set. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand that why our medical exams post-graduation, which brings us the specialist doctors, has reduced the cutoff that drastically that not only the patients but also the medical community is questioning the standards. So let us start with understanding that what exactly has happened. So when we are talking about NEET PG exam, this is an exam which is given by MBBS completed, internship completed. That means a qualified doctor sits for this exam to go into post-graduation so as to become a specialist in a given medical field. Now, NEET PG is conducted by National Board of Examination for Medical Sciences, that is NBEMS. Now, what has happened with this exam? The cutoff has been lowered. And the reason this lowered cutoff is in question because that this cutoff has been put in such a place that it is bringing in the question about commercialization, transparency, and most importantly, medical standards. Now, let us look into what cutoffs we are talking about that such serious questions are being raised. So, when we are talking about NBEMS, they have revised the whole cutoff, and if you look at across the categories, then for general candidates, you will see the percentile has gone as a cutoff from 50 to 7. For SC, ST and OBC, that is the reserved categories, the percentile threshold is 0 percentile. That means even if the marks are -40, that person is here and he can go for counseling. And after that, the different category of benchmark disabilities, they have a cutoff of the 5th percentile. Now, this clearly shows that candidates with negative marks are also eligible to go for counseling for postgraduate medical seats. Now, the reason this is raising so many questions is the fact that first of all, why MBBS qualified candidates are scoring negative marks. The percentile is set based on the accumulation of marks, based on how the standard has performed. In this context, when we are allowing all these candidates to get postgraduate medical seats, aren't we lowering down the medical standards? Aren't we putting the healthcare system at the risk? Aren't we putting lives at the risk just to fill up the seats? So, when we are talking about seats across the nation, now when we are talking about India PG seats, we have somewhere around 65 to 70,000 seats, and after 2 rounds of counselling, we found that 18,000 seats were left vacant. And that is why this reduction in cutoff was ensured so that the seats, they do not remain vacant, they are fulfilled. But it raises direct questions about the historically low cutoffs and why they have been reduced, and are we not going to look into educational delivery when we are focusing on healthcare delivery, or are we just focused on filling up the seats? What happened to merit-based medical education? What happened to operational need of hospitals? When we are talking about operational needs, it's not just about putting the personnel in number, but also personnel in terms of skill. So, all of these questions have been raised. Even the medical community has gone against such historical low cutoffs that this is going to dilute the standard of the healthcare system, and we cannot compromise on a healthcare system when we are talking about the fastest growing economy. We are talking about being a developed economy by 2047 and whatnot. So, in this context, government straight away came up and gave justifications also. They clearly said that this is happening after 2 rounds of counselling, and after that there were 18,000 seats which were left, and they were left across government and private colleges. And that is why they thought if these seats were left vacant, then that will undermine the whole healthcare setup, healthcare delivery that we are talking about, and this will lead to loss of valuable educational resources also. The ministry has gone ahead and also clarified that we are not diluting anything. What exactly is happening, that all NEET PG candidates, they are MBBS qualified doctors, they have completed their internship. NEET PG is only a ranking mechanism so as to ensure in what kind of college they go to based on merit and which candidates get this allotment of seats. It has nothing to do with the standards, it has nothing to do with the merit and the revised cutoff as per the government official, that it only expands the pool of eligible candidates amongst the already qualified doctors. So, government says the only thing that we are doing is doing the better utilization of existing infrastructure, and we have pre-qualified doctors. We are not putting incapable people, we are only expanding the pool here which is present of eligible candidates. But this is not the end of the story, because this justification does not give us a clear picture. We also need to clearly understand another huge aspect, that it is important to bring in PG residents, PG students, because our hospital systems depend on it, especially government hospitals. That is why it is the cutoff is being reduced to bring in these people to fill up the vacant seats. Because in this context, government hospitals, you need to understand, operate on resident driven model. All these PG students are the ones which will be giving service as primary caregivers under supervision, and they will be the backbone of 24/7 hospital services that we all use. So, these 18,000 less, if we do not fill up these seats, this also goes into question. Now, there are certain already existing issues and they have always been in place, chronic issues like shortage of doctors and especially permanent doctors. We have high patient to doctor ratio as compared to the WHO standard that has been given. And if the vacancies, 18,000 vacancies would have left, they would have resulted in overwork, they have resulted in burnout, and the care delivery, the healthcare delivery that we are talking about, that would have been put in a questionable place even after if we wouldn't have reduced the cutoff. So, the cutoff reduction here needs to be seen as an administrative compulsion. But because there is administrative compulsion does not mean we have the right to compromise the lives of the patient, correct? So, in this context, another factor comes in, that what exactly are the dimensions around it. So, that is why medical community has gone ahead and protested against this historical low cutoff, because this is academically indefensible, this is ethically risky, and this is not what I am saying, this is doctors community, doctors body, what they have said, and they are saying this has never happened before, this is unprecedented in medical education as well. And they are highlighting the concerns. So, the community is speaking for them, because 0 percentile implies that there is no minimum knowledge. So, a person with minimum knowledge will be placed into 24/7 care as a primary caregiver. PG doctors are the ones which directly deal with patients. And if the specialists who are coming after completing their post-graduation, if they are treated and if they are trained under diluted entry standards, minus 40 marks, then it is not only going to affect patient safety, it is also going to affect the professional credibility that is associated with doctors, especially in our country and across the world, where doctors are associated and put in parallel with gods. This is something that goes in a questionable position, and healthcare as a system, this cannot be built by minimum credibility, bare minimum work. There is some amount of skill and ethos that need to go here. But another factor, another dimension that we need to understand, that this is also related to commercialization concerns. If you are looking into the vacancy that we have in front of us, it is not evenly spread. When we are looking into 18,000 vacancies, majority of that is concentrated in the private medical colleges. Now, when we are talking about private medical colleges, the fees here is exuberantly high, and these vacancies are also concentrated in non-clinical subjects. including anatomy, then we have microbiology, pathology. That means the subject which is in least demand by medical students, because it takes away the whole medical practice passion from the student but pushes them into a more academic or teaching front. So we also have to look into the aspect where money is also playing a major role. That is why these seats remain majorly vacant, because of the high fees, because of the preference of students. It is also about how doctor as a profession has been commercialized, how there are hierarchies which are present there, and private colleges are the ones which charge exuberantly high. That also needs to be factored in. Now on this note, when we have understood this dimension as well, let us understand what this brings as a risk. It brings erosion of trust as a risk. It brings decline in training quality as a risk. And when we are talking about patients, especially the economically weaker ones, they are dependent on government hospitals. If the quality in the already declined metric, when we are talking government hospitals in general, if I pitch you a government hospital, a private hospital, first preference would not be to go the government hospital if it's not AIIMS or others. So in this context, especially poor are the ones who depend on government hospitals, and if we are compromising on their quality, they will be the ones who will be most exposed to the diluted standards, and they will suffer more because of the inequality that we get to see. So just because of short-term administrative compulsion, we cannot for long-term put the whole healthcare system at risk. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.